I am Triantafyllos Karatrantos. I'm a research associate at ELIAMEP, and I will have the honor and pleasure to coordinate this very rich in terms of speakers, but also on experience and prospects roundtable discussion about a very heavy under topic entitled, and in terms of issue, discussion about digital sovereignty and cybersecurity. So we have 8 very distinguished speakers, and we are gender balanced also. That's really good when we are discussing about cybersecurity, and especially in Greece. Panel of speakers. So I will start with, first of all, the introduction of who is with us here. So allow me to use my notes because we have too many speakers. So we have Mr. Michail Bletsas, the Governor of the National Cybersecurity Authority of Greece. Michail is here. Marina Theodotou, the Executive Director of Center for Frontier AI Security. Viktoria Kalfaki, the Head of Public Sector from Google Cloud. Athina Gerangelou, Principal Advisors and Consulting Services, Mastercard at Mastercard, here in Greece. Mr. Dimosthenis Anagnostopoulos, the Secretary-General from the Ministry of Digital Governance and AI. So we have the public sector, an independent cybersecurity authority, and the public sector to see the complementarity here. We have also Mr. Vasilis Chatzikos, CEO for Siemens Greece and Cyprus. Mr. Fred Geraud, Head of Government Affairs, Google Cloud, and Mrs. Despina Spanou. She's not here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're ready to start. So thank you very much. I will start with a kind of provocative push for further discussion. If digital sovereignty is actually something strategically positioning within this discussion, so this Spanou is, yeah, we have also Mrs. Spanou with us, so we have also the European Commission to connect the ecosystem, and we're ready to start. If actually digital sovereignty is something specific in terms of strategic concept, or is a kind of political slogan, because actually it turns the last years that populism is also covering the digital part of the discussion in cybersecurity. And I will start with Marina, with some first comments under this discussion, and where we can also integrate Europe's attempt for sovereignty as part of also the general strategic autonomy to start as a first round of discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Akis. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor amongst these distinguished colleagues. It's critical to think about AI as a sovereign security issue. So AI is foundational to our national security, and that's the bottom line, and the bluff. So the bottom line first up. It's important to think about AI as strategic as our economy and as transportation, maritime. It's not just a technology that we have to offload. Many of our leaders think of AI as a new technology that needs to be offloaded to the IT department. That's completely the wrong approach. AI is here to stay. AI is the most transformational technology of our lifetime, and it is omnipresent, and it will continue to change the way we do business, the way we think, the way we learn, the way we conduct wars, and the way we prevent wars. So AI and digital sovereignty go hand in hand.
So thank you, Marina. And I will use your comment about the transformative impact of AI, and I will turn to Mr. Dimosthenis Anagnostopoulos, because recently he was the Secretary-General of the Ministry of Digital Governance. Now it's the Ministry of Digital Governance and AI, so we have a very proven impact of this transformative in terms of public sector?
Yes, it's true that AI changes the way that we interact in our daily lives, but actually AI is both the tool that we can use to deal with threats and also the threat that we could potentially have to deal with. So it's a twofold option. I would like to stress out some key aspects relating to sovereignty and cybersecurity, though, just to be very clear about it. Cybersecurity protects systems. Sovereignty is about the ability to control how systems operate, you being able to take decisions, and decisions have to do with both business continuity and resilience, but also may have to do with cost elements, with elements concerning your choice, technical choices, that you may somehow want to make and be able to apply. So sovereignty is a far, I would say, wide issue, and cybersecurity is an essential pillar of sovereignty. Now, in the dimension of sovereignty that we discuss things, I mean, you can discuss it at the national level, you can discuss it at the corporate level, at the European level, of course, and worldwide. But actually, companies may change owners, and people may also move from one company to another. Also, that's true. Also, technologies may change, and different approaches may appear in terms of what may somehow ensure or even promote sovereignty. I wouldn't like to stress out which is the best option, to my opinion, but I would like to stress out that both at the national or EU level, when you want to make decisions for you to be sovereign, you have to be very clear on what you want to achieve and take the best measures not to achieve it in the best possible way, and not completely. There is no air gap solutions that may prevent you from being interconnected to any other technological asset. There's no way for you to be completely autonomous, not in Greece, not in the EU. So you have to cooperate with the good guys and avoid any interconnections with the bad guys.
Thank you, Dimosthenis, very much. To cooperate with the good guys. So, Viktoria, your first intervention on behalf of Google Cloud.
I don't know. I need to be the good one, or
It depends.
So yeah, it's a really nice discussion, and thank you very much for the invitation. I think for too long the debate, let's say, for the sovereign has a defensive posture, and now I think and I feel has changed a lot. Has flipped totally, and the digital sovereign is about to give confidence, let's say, to organization on how to use it. And I will be specific in terms of operation on how do I mean that, and what we are doing can be clear. Sovereign has to do with data and where the data is. So this is, we need to stress. And has to do where the data is, and when you manage data and when you do anything with data regarding AI or anything, where the data goes. So it has to do with data boundary. So we need to make sure when we discuss about data sovereign that the boundary of the data remains in the EU. And this is something that as Google Cloud we can do, and we are actually doing as we speak to many Greek as well as European, of course, organization. The other thing is, regardless of where the data are, is who is accessing the data, who has control of the data, who's operating in the data. And this is a whole new discussion that we are bringing, and has to do first on how we enable clients, because we have the ability to give keys, encryption keys to them, so they have totally Google is out of this control, and they control their own data and they have their own keys. We have no control into that. And also when it comes to European sovereign, because we are still an American company, and even if the client has the keys, Google is still there. There are new ways of collaboration. You might have seen the new European Commission, and Ms. Spanou will say more than that, Google Cloud is already there as a technology together with Thales. So we provide only the technology. We have no access. We are doing nothing to do. Only Europe companies like Thales and others, they are doing the operation. So Google is outside of that. And one more thing, regardless the air gap, because I want to stress that too. We have a gap solution, totally air gapped, and as we speak, mainly defense, Ministry of Defense, as well as intelligence services, they are using this type of technology. And you can see it's outside, it's public. NATO is using air gap technology from Google, UK Defense, German Army, and we hope in the upcoming, let's say, months or years, our Ministry of Defense and some army to be able to use great AI technology totally air-gapped. So this is how I'm stressing, let's say, everything that I can say in terms of the bad and the good, separating the things and how we frame it as sovereign.
Thank you, Victor. The bad, the good, and we have also the normative regulator, EU, which is our point of reference, actually, and I will go now to Ms. Despina Spanou, because we're discussing a lot about the European framework, so to have a first intervention about the EU framework and where EU stands with this big discussion, this actually rivalry between US, China, technology, autonomy, sovereignty, those concepts.
Thank you to everyone who is here. There, I got it. Speaking of technology. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Well, in Europe, you know that for the first time we have an executive vice president in the European Commission that amongst her title you have the words tech sovereignty. This is a first, and it means a lot. It means that Europe has had its wake-up call on technology. It's not like we were not concerned and we were not doing enough, but we were busy setting out, I would say, a course, a trajectory, and we are now in the middle of delivering it. I think there are many different interpretations of the term sovereignty. I think in the EU we are champions of sovereignty. Why? Because the EU is a union of 27 sovereign states. That's where I don't like comparisons. You can't compare the EU or speak about rivalries with anybody else. What we have is unique. It is a challenging project. It is challenging to take decisions amongst 27 sovereign, but it's what makes also our economy strong and what creates a great level of predictability for anyone who wants to work with the EU, that you have one common approach for the 27 countries of the EU, that includes some of the most important economies in the world. In the technology path, therefore, we're going two ways. First of all, we clearly follow what Professor Draghi told us, and I think it is a known fact by now, it is our mantra. We need to make sure in technology that we advance and that we do not let dependencies on others become strategic risks. This doesn't mean we're going to stop working with others. It is actually impossible in the technological field. And I think in the future, some will be strong in one area, some will be strong in another, and more alliances will be born because we will have to work together. But the years of being naive are over. The EU has to develop its own industry. This will not happen the day after tomorrow. But look at what we've done with semiconductors, for instance, where we have growing plans. Look at what we're doing with AI. We are the biggest power in the world in AI computing for good because of the AI factories we created and the AI hubs, because we brought together research organizations and different member states working in one, and we financed that effort. But now we wish and we hope to invest in AI gigafactories that will bring 4 times the current AI factories power in Europe, that will create energy-saving data centers, that it is the future. So Europe is growing its own way of doing things by doing what it knows how to do best, bringing the country's capacities together. And that's one way of going about technology. The second is de-risking our supply chains. This is a major project for being sovereign. You need to have trusted vendors. And who is a trusted vendor? So we try to identify that, for instance, in our proposal for a Cybersecurity Act, where we have come up with a framework on how you define on the basis of risk assessments high-risk suppliers. But outside that act, a trusted vendor is anyone who plays by European rules. So I would define sovereignty more in that sense. In the coming months, we will come forward with the Cloud and AI Act that will define what is a sovereign cloud, for instance. What does it mean for Europe? And it is not a made in the EU approach, because that would be impossible. But we have also managed to demonstrate how it is done ourselves by practicing what we preach, because only last Friday, the European Commission awarded this large contract for cloud services to consortia of European origin. So we move in multiple ways, but always considering this will have to be an alliance approach in some matters, and in others we will need to develop our own capacity for sure, so that we are strategically independent.
Thank you very much. And since we would like to be optimistic, so EU as a tech power for the good is an important narrative and also performance. So you perfectly prepared the ground for Michalis Bletsas, naming so many times the risk and the necessity for cybersecurity, which is actually running an agency that is the perfect outcome of EU performance and power to member states to move forward on cybersecurity. Michalis?
Thank you, Akis. A small correction. It's very important. And you said that the independent cybersecurity authority. No sane government will create an independent cybersecurity authority. And the reason that they won't do it is because they all suck at cybersecurity. So the last thing you want is somebody independent to do that. We are here because the European Union mandated a single point of contact for cybersecurity in every country, rightfully so. Cybersecurity is very important. It's becoming more important now with AI, creating a lot of troubles in the cybersecurity area. You all heard the whole brouhaha about Mythos. We knew about that. We have been talking about that for almost a year now. The transformational effects of AI for the moment are limited to the densification of the internet. We get a lot more low-quality content on the internet, and that will probably have a very nice effect of leading to the death of LLMs, because they will be getting trained with worse and worse content as time progresses. That's a very important piece for sovereignty, because one, as people previously mentioned, one important aspect of sovereignty, digital sovereignty, is data. Ownership, governance, access, and auditing. Who owns the data? Who can access them? Do we know who access them and when and for what reason? Obviously, digital sovereignty has very little to do with geography when it comes to data. AI has been accelerated, the very large erosion of digital sovereignty, because we are all contributing data to large platforms that are outside of our control right now. And despite any assurances that they can give you, and right now they are giving you just assurances because you cannot have access to the platforms themselves, when you are using the data and when you are using AI, you are training the models, and the data, your data, become part of their models. if you look at the fine print for all the platforms out there, the only honest one is Google, actually, who tells you flat out that, if you give us your data, we're going to use them to improve our platforms. Everybody else is maybe, yes, but we don't show them to people, machines only read them, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a big part of sovereignty here, and we need to really ask for more assurances and hard assurances, which means you don't only have to trust. I mean, CSA2 talks about trusted vendors. We cannot only rely on trust. In reliable systems design, we have the principle of trust but verify. And that's where the EU has to spend a lot of resources, because we have to be able to verify that the technology that we use does what it's supposed to be doing and nothing else. And this is a very good way to enable your own abilities, capabilities in specific technologies. The Chinese did it by copying everybody blindly, without any. For us, maybe that's a very good way to catch up. It has dual purposes there. And I think I will stop with that.
Thank you very much, Michalis. And since you refer also to data, I will turn now to Mrs. Athina Gerangelou from Mastercard. So try to play a little bit the provocative side of the sector.
Okay, thank you very much. We have already discussed a lot about digital autonomy. For us, data and digital autonomy, in order to perform and being able to handle those data, you need to always be on top of the industry and on top of the knowledge. Therefore, for us, digital autonomy shouldn't be about isolation, as we discussed before. It should be more about how we make sure that our systems are resilient and flexible enough. And if you see Europe traditionally, it has a very good strength there. Europe has been always able to develop and combine its local resources with global partnerships that a lot of times can bring also access to knowledge and top of the knowledge and very strong infrastructure. Also, Mastercard, as an example, I think it's a very good example of very good cooperation in Europe. We have been operating over the last 50 years in Europe. We are enabling payments by leveraging our local entity. We have been spending a lot of investments to develop local people, local talent. We have a lot of Center of Excellence in Europe with experts on AI, cybersecurity. And at the same time, we have also developed our local infrastructure here in Europe to ensure this autonomy. We have very recently also announced the development of the big data centers in France. So all in all, what is important is that our systems remain resilient, remain flexible, and on top of technology, always in alignment with the values of the European Union, but being open enough in order to benefit from the global innovation and the global scale.
Thank you very much, Athina. And I will use Michail's comments, and I would go to about Google, and I will go to Frederic for a first intervention.
Thank you very much for the invitation. So maybe, from a Google standpoint, our first claim is what our customer wants, we can deliver. Freedom of choice. So it means, because we were talking about sovereign AI, because AI is cloud-based, the very first question is, what is a sovereign cloud? So let me thank again the European Commission for this marvelous awardees last week, because in the European, and there was this cloud sovereign framework attached to the contract to be kept and awarded by the contract, one of the winners, a consortia with Luxembourg, with French stakeholders, with the French AI champion Mistral, was also with Sense. What is Sense? Sense is a joint venture between Google Cloud Platform and Thales. What is Thales? Thales is a French state-owned cybersecurity and defense champion. You cannot find more sovereign. What we have built with Thales over the last 5 years, with thousands of engineers. And we are the only hyperscalers who took that bet and went until the end to be, not us, not Google, but Thales, awarded with the Secnum Cloud qualification in France by the peers of Governor Bletsas, the ANSSI, the French Cybersec agency. And those people are really serious, just like Governor Bletsas. And they are looking at defending the French nation against cyber attacks. So they are not looking at legal interpretation or so on. They are looking at protecting a country. That's their jobs. They are the soldiers, the last barriers for the nation. And they went and they created a frame called Secnum Cloud in 2016 before the first President Trump mandate. So this question is not new, and there are already existing solutions, and the European Commission is using them. And one of these solutions relies on US technologies, only one, the only stakeholder on cloud service provider who played the game totally and anticipated 5 years ago, which is Google Cloud. So, using Sense, you won't have Google facing you, but you will have access to state-of-the-art technologies. And coming to sovereign AI, this is Thales talking. They announced that before the end of the year, the full Vertex AI, which is the name of the AI solutions on Google Cloud Platform, will be available in a Secnum Cloud mode, so a sovereign mode. So the European Commission, if she wants to award each tender on AI, could use Sense. So there are existing solutions. I would say that the main point to keep in mind is choose carefully your partner. Look, what is their behavior? Are they playing the game? Are they opening the books? Are they opening their technologies? The French Cybersec agency knows everything about our technology. That's the only way it can work. And to build on that, it exists air-gapped, fully air-gapped solutions. And as my colleague was just stating it, NATO bought it. UK bought it. The German Secret Service bought it, and the German Army bought it. And we expect many new customers. Why they are so much interested, why there is so much appetite for this air-gapped solution from Google Cloud? Because it's really disconnected, and it embeds AI and suit Gemini. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederic. And I will close the cycle with Mr. Vasilis Chatzikos from Siemens.
Yes, hello. Hi from my side as well. The discussion is more or less about data. And we as a company, we create a lot of data. Just to give you a figure, we create on a day, our automation systems create more data than Netflix. So we are one of the providers of solutions in industry, in energy, in many verticals where we create a lot of data. And the question now is how we can use this data fast and in a security way. And this is the main challenge. We face a lot of challenges, especially with our customers, convince them how to use their data, how to connect to cloud, and why this is the best way of how to use this data. And this is more or less the time to speed up things, because the more time we lose, especially with a heavy regulated framework, this is a big delay also for the customers, and for the local environment of Greece, it's also time that we cannot waste.
And I will turn to Despina now. How we can balance innovation, security, compliance, regulations within the EU framework and speed up.
I look forward to the new AI model that will be developed by a company that will say, I help companies comply with EU rules, and then everything will be perfect. It will come. It will be in the market, I'm sure, at some point. In any case, we will try to do that also through European certification. So I think that one does not exclude the other. When, for instance, we proposed the AI Act, there was a lot of skepticism around the market and some countries as to whether you can have ever a regulatory system for approving AI systems. Look at what's happening today. They are so fast. You want somewhere to have a safeguard that is not going to go beyond the limits of our values, the values, at least in Europe, of the European way of life. At the same time, you need to always accompany your regulatory framework with incentives. And part of what we were discussing under the previous questions that you asked about sovereignty in Europe is exactly about that. It's about using what we know how to do best. In Europe, we have more startups than in the US. So now what we're trying to do is to mobilize this environment to propose and to come forward with more ideas so that they can be part of this innovative ecosystem. We have some of the best researchers in the world. So we also try to bring them in all these initiatives I mentioned, like the AI factories, like the gigafactories, will pull in all this dynamic. So you need to continue with innovation. But regulation should not be seen as a stifling factor. Quite the opposite. Innovation is there to promote, regulation is there to promote how innovation should be carried out. When we talk about trusted vendors, as I mentioned, the trusted vendor is not just someone who is identified under the law as a high risk, not a high risk supplier. A trusted vendor is someone who plays by the rules we have set up. So this is the whole idea. In the cybersecurity field, we are champions. The European Union, we have the largest ecosystem in the world. This has generated a system of compliance that has led to better security, and we know that through stress tests, through incidents that have taken place, for instance, in both sides of the Atlantic, and that had less impact in Europe, exactly because of the protection that this legislation offers to critical infrastructure. So what we need now, as I mentioned jokingly at the opening of my remarks, is that technology serves speed of compliance. I think this is the time now. And it is time that us as regulators become a service of compliance to the companies. I think we have set out an excellent ecosystem of legislation. Now it's time to make sure that we help companies as to how to implement it. A few weeks ago, we produced a document that was out for consultation by companies, so something that has worried a lot the markets. It's called the Cyber Resilience Act. It's basically the legislation that says every interconnected product must meet security by design. So the CE mark on everything interconnected. Instead of looking at how to take countries to court or whatever, what we do is constant interpretative documents and guidance on the basis of what the companies come and tell us, so that these rules work for the companies. And I think this is the kind of public-private partnership that we need in the future, and I think we need to become a more modern organization, starting from the one I represent, and work more with the companies to create rules that not only do not stifle innovation, but help companies grow. AI will be an enabler in this respect, and we will need to also direct those that are in the market producing solutions of AI to also produce them for better cybersecurity in accordance with European rules.
And I will use the experience of a member state on this policy balancing Dimosthenis between innovation and regulation. And Despina mentioned before the AI factories. So I believe that we need to name also the Greek example.
Just a couple of things from me. I'm not going to talk about the good guys and bad guys, but I will try to be kind of heretic and state that, to my opinion, sovereignty is not mainly about data. It's about systems, and I will say why. Imagine that you're a bank, that you're a government agency, that you deploy and operate a system which has different components, both at the private level, in on-prem infrastructure, and also get resources from public cloud providers, such as that is hyperscalers. For example, AI components. Then the service that you provide is highly dependent on each different component that you get from either private infrastructure or public cloud components. And in this case, when this fails, the whole service won't be provided. So resilience and business continuity is highly dependent on all these components. For this reason, and this also has to do with cost elements, I would say, stress again, because you being able to support the cost that may be enforced to you is something different, but eventually will be also of importance. Now, for this purpose, I think that strategic optionality, that is the ability to switch providers and avoid lock-in, is essential. And also, this has to do with the trusted alignment with the EU frameworks, and this is where the EU comes in the discussion. What I would suggest is that for you to be sovereign is to have alternatives, and to get AI resources, especially AI resources, it's of most significance to have such resources at your discretion to operate under your control. That's why AI factories are so important for Europe, because they give you the ability to have AI resources at the national level, at the EU level, and being able to ensure that, independent of what hyperscalers may somehow dictate, you can get use of your own resources. This doesn't have to do with hyperscalers. It has to do with sovereignty at the national level and at the European level. And for this reason, I think it's very important that one of these 7 contracts has been awarded to Greece, and that we build Pharos, and we'll have on-prem AI resources for us to get use. Combining such resources with one's alternative provided by hyperscalers, and being multi-cloud and multi-AI, I would say, this would give the best, I would say, recipe for you to be sovereign, both at the private sector and the public sector.
Going back to bad guys and malicious actors, I will turn to Marina now.
I was hoping you would do that, Akis. So before I jump into the good and the bad guys, I wanted to actually share some good news with the commissioner, because the Center for Frontier AI Security is actually, it's a nonprofit set up to actually address the need for setting up a standards framework that's national security focused to operationalize AI in national security in particular. So I'll be happy to chat later. With regards to sovereignty, I wanted to also ante up and say that it's not only about data, governance, and systems, it's also about people and the technologies. So we have several students here. I presume that the yellow tag is students, so I'm really glad to have students at the table, because data sovereignty, so AI sovereignty is about people, and it's about the new generation of leaders that you are the digital natives, and I'm really glad that you're here, because you have to actually hold that torch that we're all building here, but you have to continue. And by that, I mean that you have to make sure that you have your AI fluency at the top notch, because those that have AI fluency will not lose their job. We have this fear that AI will take our jobs, and AI sovereignty, and I'm going to come to the good guys and bad guys, in the end, hinges on people and our values, and also how do we operationalize all of our governance, and how do we build our governance based on our values, on Western European values, versus authoritative values. So the new generation is critical, and the people are critical, and for all of us here at the table, I think we have a responsibility to ensure that leaders in our organizations are empowered and equipped to build and speed up their data fluency and their AI fluency, because China, for example, is very much ahead in terms of being systematic and relentless and really focused on strengthening AI across all domains of their society, and several other nations. Coming back to good and bad guys, I think it boils down to to values, and we all know that our AI systems are built based on our AI values. When you peel the layers of AI, it's built by people, and we all know that AI hallucinates and AI has biases. So at the same time, AI has also this tremendous power that it gives us to be able to solve problems that humanity has not been able to solve yet. AI is decreasing our OODA loop, our ability to make decisions faster. So OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, act. It's borrowed from Colonel John Boyd, who was a colonel in the US Air Force in the 50s and 60s, and he studied Air Force fighter pilots. And he found out that the ones that were orienting and observing and deciding and acting faster actually were winning. So AI gives us a decision advantage and speeds up our OODA loops. And so the guys that can do this faster will win every time. So whether it's at the individual level, we have to speed up our OODA loop, and AI is already helping us do that. So when you ask ChatGPT to create a PowerPoint presentation in Gamma, instead of spending 3 or 4 hours to do it, you spend seconds to do it. So at the individual level, your OODA loop is already faster. At the sovereign level, our OODA loop becomes even more critical. And so it's important to align people, process, technology, data, and governance to our values to make sure that in the end, the world, in my opinion, the question boils down to what Mark Andreessen said from A16, the biggest venture capital firm. He said, the question boils down to, do we want the world to run on a Western AI stack or on a Chinese AI stack? And I'll let that question linger. And I'll give it back to you, the floor.
And I will give the floor to Michail for AI, cybersecurity, values, and coordination.
I have to admit I'm scared. Because when people use AI to create PowerPoint presentations, despite the fact that it's very nice analyzing them, because they have very interesting, subtle mistakes in them, by the way, I use Gemini. Gemini makes very nice infographics. I have the same presentation about AI that I sort of update from lecture to lecture, and I always had the picture of the first participants in the original Dartmouth conference, most of which I had the rare luck to meet, and one of them to count as a mentor, Marvin Minsky at MIT. I spent a lot of time with him. So I made, the picture was not that nice, so I said, why don't you make me a cartoon of these guys in Dartmouth discussing? So he created the cartoon, but 2 of them came out black. None of them was black, but now because of, diversity requirements seeping in. So it wasn't historical, but it was nice. I mean, it didn't hurt anybody. Both of them are dead. Nobody will be offended by that, but it's okay. When you do that, though, to accelerate decisions, you might end up with something like what happens in the war right now. When somebody who has to pull the trigger gets 20 different targets in the same amount of time that he used to get 1, you might have a problem there. And I will let that linger out there. In general, we need to study a lot how to efficiently use AI. Right now, we are not putting a lot of thought into it. If you have a process that looks like a funnel, enlarging the input of the funnel doesn't help you too much unless you enlarge the output too. And this is what we are doing right now with AI. Hopefully, we can move forward. As far as cybersecurity is concerned, it's the absolute nightmare, because now every Joe Schmo can be an efficient hacker with AI. So great productivity gains for the cyber criminals. extremely high productivity gains for the cyber criminals. There is a tsunami coming, and we are trying to brace and make sure that we breathe after it passes. Hopefully, AI will help us audit code. It will help us certify vendors later on. That is the hope. But for the moment, the balance is for the attacker. And what we're trying is to make sure that it tilts to the defender very quickly.
Thank you, Michail. Viktoria, from the side of cloud cybersecurity and AI.
I will, let's say, mention a couple of things that we are discussing, and all of them are very important. I want to stress a little bit the fact that there is a dangerous myth somehow that local equals safe, which it's a myth. It's a myth. Definitely secure by design. It's what we want to do. And we are working into that direction, that's for sure. The other thing wanted to mention regarding all the interesting things that we are saying is regarding trust, because trust isn't something that you, let's say, you put a label and you are a trusted vendor. It's not like that. It's not so simple. Trust has to do with the architecture, which I, encourage everyone here and outside of the room to have a look into the model, what type of model, how it's whatever the vendor, your partner is operating. The principle and all these things that are very, very important, not just a claim of a partnership. And I would like to say that we, as Europeans, de facto, we might work in Google Cloud, but we operate in Europe and we work together with Europe to build things. So those are some of the things, let's say, the balance that I want to keep, and I want to open up for collaboration and more interesting discussions.
Thank you, Viktoria. And talking about public-private partnership, trust, cybersecurity, I will turn now to Athina, then to Vasilis and Frederic for a round of interventions.
Thank you. I think we touched upon a couple of interesting things that I would like also to discuss. One is about regulation, and the second one is about collaboration between private and public sector. First of all, I would like to state that regulation is essential. And it's essential because it sets the principles, it sets the standards, but also it creates trust. And this, especially on sectors that are sensitive, like payments and like data protection, data sharing, is key. Therefore, on this front, we need to work together along with the regulators in order to create this trust that will allow us to create also the trust to our consumer and to our European citizens to exchange data and allow the data to flow securely and in a resilient manner. So what do we need to develop this close collaboration between state and private sector? We need trusted frameworks that will enable us with clear and consistent rules to trust the process, to have strong governance, and make sure that we can exchange data very quickly, along with a very easy to use and very strong infrastructure. So again, it's all about innovation and how we can work together and create this transparency, create this trust between the different players in the market, and being able to develop this operating model. And from our side, as Mastercard, we are also working very closely with the regulators, with governance, and with other trusted partners in the industry to support in creating this setup. For example, we also participate in the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, and we are also investing heavily in this market to be able to allow this intelligence sharing, to share insights, to share incidents that will help us as a system to protect actually the entire ecosystem together.
Thank you, Vasilis.
I'm thinking what's happening today to real life. Are we facing attacks, cybersecurity attacks on real life, on industrial customers, on infrastructure networks? Yes, we do. And there are a lot of cases where the attackers have the upper hand. So speed, and we need to move quick on how to protect and secure the real end customers, the real owners of production lines and networks, especially infrastructure networks. So regulation is one thing, and for sure we move quite strict compared to America or China. However, we need to speed up and prepare the market of what is coming. And the time is really important that through the synergies, we can public, private sector, technology companies, we can end up very quickly implementing really cybersecurity frameworks for everybody to be secure and use the data in the best way.
Thank you, Vasilis, also for keeping the time. Frederic?
Maybe to take a moment to go back to 2009, and it's a moment when Google understood that our infrastructure was under attack, a Chinese attack, a state-backed attack. It was called the Aurora operation. And that's where Google, first of all, had to ask itself, do we wish to communicate and to tell that to the world? And we did it in a bold manner. But it meant that we had to change our full cybersecurity doctrine. From perimeter security, we went to zero trust architecture, zero trust behavior, and that's what we are applying to us because we had a very hard moment in 2009. For us, Google, AI and generative AI is clearly an advantage for defense. We are not saying that attackers are not enhanced through Gen AI, but what we are looking at, and it's Mandiant, who is the best expert regarding that, a company that we bought for more than 5 billion 5 years ago, doing threat intelligence, threat intel, and we are seeing that cyber attackers, it still costs less to use the good old techniques when you are looking for money. It's only state-backed attackers that are trying to use AI for the moment because it costs. That's what we are observing on the market. Let me take a moment to talk about the mythos moment, because since this morning we are hearing a lot about it. Let's not be naive. Anthropic, like OpenAI, are looking for an IPO this year. They have to be the brightest one every week. Okay, we are Google. We did our IPO a long time ago. A year ago, we published a paper regarding an agent called Big Sleep that our Google security team created. Exactly like Mythos. Did you heard about it? No. Did you heard about CodeMender, that we issued 6 months ago? No. It's exactly the same. And the first paper we published about Big Sleep was because Big Sleep came back alone, showing some vulnerabilities in our own systems. Whoa, we were astonished. So yes, AI is very helpful, but we are not looking for an IPO. Stopping there on the Mythos moment. Threat intel sharing. This is about public and private partnership. We need to share more. We acquired Mandiant, we acquired VirusTotal, we acquired Wiz last year for a huge amount of money. We have a unique portfolio, but believe me, we are in a full cooperation mode with each country. And the Mandian team is very well known by each cybersec agencies, and usually they are already a customer of Google Threat Intel. So cooperation is key, especially in democratic countries when you look at disinformation and those peculiar moments which are electoral moments, electoral campaign. And we are here to support because we share the same value. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederic. And Marina, the future will be dark, full of terror and hybrid threats?
That depends. That depends on all of us here and everybody in the AI ecosystem. So I would like to believe that the future is bright, and AI gives us not only, obviously, the risk, the inherent risk that it brings, but also the opportunity. And as I mentioned in an earlier session, it's probably the most transformational technology of our lifetime. And so the future is bright, but it behooves and it rests on us to make it bright. And again, I'll go back to decision advantage, the OODA loop, and I'll close with interoperability. I think one of the key elements here that is important for Europe and its allies is interoperability. When it comes to AI sovereignty, it's important that countries don't make AI decisions when it comes to national defense independently, but in an interoperable way. So when we talk about interoperability, we are talking about the alignment of people, processes, technologies, and systems, and governance around national defense and security. So the future is bright, and it will get brighter. So we have to be ready for that and be actually the creators of the brightness, while at the same time we prepare for bad weather as well. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's not the European way to the future? Of digital sovereignty, AI, cybersecurity.
I think the future is in collaboration at all levels. Speaking about security, because cybersecurity is a security matter, I think that we need more than ever to renew our alliances in the world. We're living very turbulent times, and in turbulent times, you need to come together and join forces. At the same time, that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on your own forces, and I think this is where Europe is working. It's working on, as our president has put it, the time of independence of Europe. And I think that is also very important for security. In the area of cybersecurity, we have put now we have invested a lot in our proposal for the Cybersecurity Act, because we believe a lot in a strong European cybersecurity agency, which in fact, in Europe's case, is independent. It's not run by the Commission, it's run by all the member states together with the Commission. We believe in what actually Michalis said, not just being trusted, but also verifying, so a strong certification system, and in de-risking our supply chain. I believe that in everything that we have discussed, the issue of the supply chain is fundamental. Because if you have one weak link in your supply chain, you can have an impact across the chain, but also across the world. You mentioned earlier that there are incidents all the time. It is very important that we start talking about these incidents and their impact. Look at what happened in the country where I live, in Brussels, in the city where I live a few months ago, just because there was a ransomware incident on a small part of the supply chain, on a software system that was dealing with a very little part of what a major airport hub like Brussels is about. And it destabilized us all, for a long time. It had a huge impact. It affected other airports across Europe. Very small incident. But because it was so discussed, we always use it as a point of reference on why the supply chain is important. So I think this is where we have to go. Now tackle the topics exactly where they are, name them. I think it is very important we have this discussion on sovereignty, for instance, because we need to understand each other. Europe will never be a closed market, but Europe will put its own rules of the game. Europe will become stronger at all levels because we have one of the most important economies in the world. But our alliances with other parts of the world continue to be very, very important. And in technology, we have an opportunity. We have huge divergences in some areas, but we also have a lot of convergences. In the area of cybersecurity, funnily enough, I think there is convergence in the approaches. Maybe it is expressed in a different way, but the challenges and the threats are the same. So this is where we have an opportunity to also work together.
Thank you. Michail, your horizon is coming for the near future?
Look, the future is very bright. The only question is how long it's going to take us to get there. And I will second Despina because in Europe, national sovereignty is very often at odds with European sovereignty. And we have to really think about that at this point in time because we have size matters in all battles, and united we stand much stronger than each country individually, and that plays along in all aspects, including cybersecurity.
Thank you, Michalis. Dimosthenis?
I think it all comes down to what type of AI models we prefer, if we prefer Western world models or not, and specifically European, let's say, type models, one of European culture and ideals and principles. So if we could somehow merge European ideals, principles, and culture with innovation of the Western world, US innovation, this could be an ideal recipe for the future. The issue is that this is not very easy to accomplish if we don't strengthen our inner cooperation within Europe and have more strong mechanism to do it, accomplish this in a very common and joining forces way. And for Europe, I think it's essential to promote this aspect both in AI related issues, such as other issues, as economy and, of course, diplomacy. So I think it's the hands of Europe strengthening its cooperation and internal mechanism and have a single unified way to promote innovation in AI.
Viktoria, on behalf of Google, public sector.
Yeah, I will, if I wanted, let's say, to say what to do or what to avoid or things like that, I want, you know, a public sector as well as it applies to all type of companies, move away from old legacy infrastructure, because this is, you know, my recommendation to everything that is happening, cybersecurity, sovereign, and all these things. And the way to do is utilizing actively the framework, the European Commission framework, and all the frameworks that already exist, and it will evolve more. So this is, let's say, how I will recommend not only public sector, but all type of companies to, let's say, move ahead as a...
Athina, are we prepared for AI cyber attacks that's at scale?
I would say that preparation should be an ongoing process. AI, as all the previous technologies before, when they launched, they are also creating a risk and an opportunity. So there are a lot of challenges in the market on AI. There's a high risk, but at the same time, AI provides us with powerful tools that can help us prevent those challenges. As an example, in Mastercard, AI is embedded in our DNA for at least the last 10 years. As an example, 1/3 of our solutions have already, and services have already identified and incorporated AI technologies. Currently, imagine that since 2018, we managed to prevent more than 10 billion of euros in frauds by using AI-driven tools. So this is very important. But at the same time, as discussed also before, AI is a race, right? So we move fast, but the fraud is also moving so fast. So what is important is to continue heavily investing on these technologies, is to continue the collaboration, as we discussed before, but also trying to get advantage of the best practice and the best technologies that are already there, available at a global level.
Frederic, the future threat landscape?
To try to stay on the metaphor, so I would say that today is already bright, but maybe if you look at the US hyperscalers, just for Google. And even if we have bad clouds outside today, we have already an almost European frame through the last contract awarded with this cloud sovereign framework that was issued. We, since last Friday, have 4 available offers on the market. We also have an existing and an old one, the most stringent one, an Everest to climb sovereign framework in France called Secnum Cloud with 17 available offers. So there is freedom of choice already. It's time to act. It's time to accelerate. It might not be with Google directly. We have state-owned partner qualified by some member states. We can give you the number, just ask.
Vasilis?
Well, usually I'm an optimistic person, and I'd like to see the bottle or the glass half full and not half empty. AI will change everything, and it will go all the way down to the machine's world and robotics. And we need to make sure that we will move, also as Greece, quite fast, implementing all of these new technologies into the real world, which is the world of the machines and the robots and everything. And we need to do it with a secure way. So cybersecurity is the hottest topic at the moment for using AI in real life.
Thank you. And let's close with 2 key takeaways from each of you. Viktoria?
I think we said, let's say, many things. Trust, technology, as well as what are the principles and the business model of your partner. Local is a myth, and be careful about that. Collaboration is with governments, with enterprises, is everything. Framework is already there. It will give us, let's say, some indication on how the procurement would look like in sovereign and what sovereign actually means. So this is, let's say, how I wanted to wrap it up, since many interesting things we all already discussed.
Thank you, Victoria. Marina?
Thank you, Akis. Yeah, it's been a great discussion. So I'd like to leave you with 3 things. So the first one is policy is great, but we need to operationalize the policy, because think of it this way. If we don't, it's like checking the brakes on a bike, but never riding the bike. So we have to ride the bike. We have to make sure that the brakes are secure so we can go very fast. So that's number 1. Number 2, we want to focus on decision advantage, because that's what AI gives us, and that applies in anything we do. Our OODA loop is becoming shorter, and so decision advantage is the differentiator, And to get there, we need to strengthen interoperability across, since we're talking about a European context, interoperability across people, process, technology, data, and governance within the EU context. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back to you.
Michalis?
I heard a lot of things that I disagree with. So I'm not gonna, it's gonna take us too much time.
We have 16 minutes.
16, oh. First of all, AI, yes, it's been used not only by state actors, but by everyday petty cyber criminals. Right now, every time the Ministry of Digital Governance announces a new platform, the fraudulent platform is out before the real one. And it looks really good, and it functions very well, and it steals your data very well. And this is not any very capable actor. These are pure criminals that a year ago didn't have the ability to do that. Now they can do it, and they can do it very quickly, and they overwhelm us. That's the problem. It's not that they are very sophisticated, it's just that a lot of things are coming at you at once. So yes, we hope that AI will be able to help us automate and help us deal with one of the biggest, maybe the biggest challenge that we face, which is the shortage of personnel in cybersecurity. And when it comes to shortage of personnel in cybersecurity, the worst idea I ever heard was creating a bachelor's in cybersecurity. And let me tell you why. Or training people, training, yes, educating people in AI, it's a different thing. Cybersecurity is something that changes on a yearly basis. You need people that have all the bases that learn how to learn from now on. So the people in the authority come from all sorts of different backgrounds. The only ability that we want from them is to be able to always stay current. And that's a drive that you either have or you don't have, and that's maybe if you went to a good school, you learned how to learn, and you got the basis. So when we're talking about AI, we have to remember that AI was, as we think of it today, was the convergence of three things: maths, and may I remind you that you have to get to the university here in Greece to hear about linear algebra or statistics. It was programming skills that get eroded very fast because everybody thinks that they can vibe code and they become big developers suddenly, and they create shitty code that's full of security holes. And the third one was the availability of big data and obviously computing. And so a small country obviously cannot compete on the big computing facilities, but we can definitely compete in maths and programming skills, and that's not something that we are doing, and that's something that worries me. Also worries me the fact that the code that we deploy, if we believe the hyperscalers, 25% of the code that they deployed is written by AIs. I don't think that's true, but it's scary. The most stupid thing I've heard from Silicon Valley is actually having competitions about who's using most AI to write code. Basically, who writes the most code, not the best code out there. And the most code means lots of security holes over there. So these are the things that I think, I'm very hopeful that we get over very quickly. If Mythos gave us one very good lesson that pretty much everybody overlooked, was that it's not a pure LLM, it has a lot of symbolic AI in there. It has a lot of rules in there. So people are starting to move away from this craziness that, a stochastic parrot will solve all the problems of science and cybersecurity and, everything else that you can imagine, or people talking to it about medical advice. another crazy thing. But I think we're moving away from that and into a more productive future. I should remind you that AlphaFold 2 had nothing to do with LLMs or transformers. I start to believe a conspiracy theory that Google gave everybody the transformers paper so that they could all run and do LLMs, and then Google comes out and wins at the end of the day, doing more important things. But anyway, so brace up. It's going to be bumpy for the next few years. There is no way to avoid that. Practice your personal cyber hygiene. Don't click on strange links, on mails that you haven't and messages that you haven't elicited yourselves. And hopefully we'll get better soon. History always, up to now, says that, every technological revolution at the end benefits everybody. At the end.
At the end.
At the end. So hopefully we'll get there, and hopefully we will get to see the transformational AI becoming the most transformational technology over there, something that I keep hearing. I'm an engineer, I'm not a futurist, so I'm waiting to see that. I haven't seen it yet. It has the potential, but to me, the computer remains the most important invention, and AI is a very good way to become a lot more productive using computers and interact more meaningfully with our technology.
Frederic? Not about the conspiracy theory.
Sorry?
Not about Michail's conspiracy theory about...
So now you understood it. Our model is to offer choice and freedom of choice, and our door is always open. A call to action regarding cybersecurity, which is our top of mind right now, is the post-quantum cryptography, which is at the door. Is it in 2 years? Is it in 3, 4, or 5 years? But this is, to us, a real threat, and we really want the full ecosystem and the governments to take action right now. You know that when you talk about cybersecurity right now, it's relying on end-to-end encryption and encryption technologies. But as soon as post-quantum cryptography will be there, everything will fall down. So, for example, we announced a month ago that our full infrastructure is already quantum resilient. Our partner, Thales, who is already creating algorithm for post-quantum resiliency, announced that Sense was also ready. But this is the question. Look at the offer or the solution you want to use now, but ask your provider, are you ready for post-quantum? Thank you.
Thank you, Frederic. Vasilis?
Well, for me, it's easy. I mean, the most important thing you can do is to choose very careful your technology partner, the one who can give you really the full holistic solution to your needs, coming on an end-to-end from what we call the OT world up to the IT world, and also take very much into consideration the cybersecurity topics.
Athina?
Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for the discussion. For me, based on what we discussed, I can take over 2 key takeaways. One is about strong collaboration and global trusted partnerships. In this interconnected environment, no one can stay secure in isolation. And number 2, it's about continuous investment in technology, in innovation, and best-in-class infrastructure. As we said, this is the only way to keep up with the fraud, and we would like to be able to be faster than the bad guys. Therefore, we would like to keep working on this front.
Dimosthenis?
I'd like to stress out that this is the first time, I think, in a lot of years, that we have plenty of time remaining, and the panel still has so much, it's not intense in saying more about the subject that we're discussing. Now, let's talk about skills. AI education in AI started in the 80s. We had lots of classes at the universities concerning AI. especially the ones related to programming, but also ones relating to very substantial learning, such as math and statistics. And this was the one that made us come close to AI. I'm saying that especially for you. It was the capabilities of processing that increased, that gave us the opportunity to develop AI models and run them, both on-prem and also in hyperscalers. And it's a technology that gave us the opportunity to get benefit from this, from AI. Nevertheless, the stake of getting the best out of AI and not being vulnerable to the threats of AI was very imminent from these years. So we had plenty of time to prepare. That's my conclusion. And for this reason, I think that, especially here in Greece, where we're fifth according to the OECD reports in STEM capabilities and STEM education. This is science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. And sixth in OECD, and fifth in women population in OECD. I think that we have the right skills to get benefit from these technologies and also be aware of the dangers. Now, it's true that we want to increase our personnel that relates to AI developments and tools that we use, especially in the public sector, because it's not very easy to be attractive when private sector is much more, demanding and offers bigger salaries. But on the other hand, we have to build very strong infrastructure and very strong capabilities in the public sector, because it was the public sector that drove innovation in digital transformation in Greece in the past 6 years. So as we moved in digital transformation as a whole, the same can be the case in AI, because GovGR, interoperability, cloud technology, all these technologies emerged and first were implemented and adopted in the public sector, and now we migrate to the private sector. I think this is something that this government has achieved, and it offers a very good, it's a best practice on how we have achieved it, both for Europe and worldwide. And especially for AI, we were, I think, very cautious, and we identified the issues and the potential and capabilities that could be offered for us. And the implementation of Pharos, the first AI factory here in Greece, one of the 7 in the EU, across the EU, is a key success of Greece and this government. So, what I would like to say and stress out is that for you, which are students, young entrepreneurs, the ones that may create their own startup, and also for SMEs that could benefit from AI resources of Pharos at no cost for at least 2 years from 2026, that Pharos will begin its operation. I think it's a key and very important asset for you to get involved in AI, have all the resources that may become very handy, essential to you, and also spread this message to all students or young entrepreneurs, because there's a high potential for you with the support of AI, of EU concerning AI. So learn about Pharos, about what will develop and how can you get use of AI resources at no cost, and be pioneers in this.
And the last 1 minute from Despina.
It's very interesting. We talk about Pharos, we talked about Mythos, we are in Delphi, and you're asking me to make a kind of oracle.
Yeah.
So, with pleasure. It's part of the job description for the European Commission. So, I think that we are in a situation, I hear you on quantum cryptography, but we do have in front of us all the AI situation, and I think we need to put ourselves companies and regulators alike in a situation where we use AI for us, and we do not run after the problems that it generates. And that requires a very vigilant regulator, and in the EU we do this through regulation because of the 27 member states and trying to have a level playing field. But we also need very responsible companies. We need companies that, when they come out and they announce these big new models, they tell us how they intend to mitigate the risks. And I think that's the responsibility of every stakeholder that wants to make a splash that will be, of course, a commercial success potentially for them. But when it comes to AI, they need to explain what are they doing to mitigate the risks. And I think this is going to be our largest challenge now, and that links to cybersecurity. And this is where we need to grab the opportunity and make AI work for us. Skills were discussed. In the EU, we created the EU Cybersecurity Skills Academy exactly because of what Michail said. You cannot create university courses. You need a place where people get skilled, reskilled, trained, certified, and you generate a market of professionals that can be economists, not just computer scientists or lawyers or what have you. And that's a very important message for our youth. And we also are doing the same for AI, exactly because we believe that people need to be trained so that they can use these models for us before they turn against us. And I think that's our biggest challenge at this point in time. And that's what we're trying to do the EU through the legislation and through the investment in infrastructure, like Pharos.
Thank you, Despina.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your interventions and for keeping the time and for the interesting discussion.